This is where things get insane because until today, people thought Verity's was just providing 1000% additional base regen rate with Field of Flames, which is solid, but really this entire time, it's actually been increasing our total grenade regen rate by 10 times, which is substantially better and means we can get a full grenade back in just 1.6 seconds. The build I'm covering in this video will be the strongest build in all of Destiny 2 in just 1 week. And if I'm being honest, it's already much stronger than Starfire Protocol if you know how to use it correctly. Plus, it was recently even discovered to be way stronger than anybody had thought before. Just by getting a single weapon kill, you're going to be able to spam grenades exactly like we are here. There's no risk required, no spamming your primary like Starfire. All that you need is a single enemy for insane passive regen. And on top of this, it's not even close to the max regen we're able to get with Verity's either. Plus, it doesn't take into account the fact that with Verity's Brow, we can give our grenades double the damage, which wasn't possible with Starfire, and that's any grenade. This isn't just limited to fusion grenades, although fusions, as I'll go on to explain, are going to work by far the best. Taking a look over at Verity's Brow, which is probably one of the strongest, if not the single strongest exotic armor piece in Destiny 2 right now, Weapon Final Blows with a damage type that matches your subclass energy is going to grant stacks of death throws, which are then going to provide you increased grenade damage and increased grenade energy regen per stack that you get, up to 5 total stacks. As you guys can see in this gameplay, just getting a single kill will give a single stack of death throws. And like I mentioned, this is going to go up to ×5 in total. The numeric values of the buffs we are getting here are going to be a 20% increase in our grenade damage and then 50% additional base grenade ability regen. But do keep in mind, this is per stack. So at ×5, which is the max stacks we can get, we're getting a 100% increase in damage, which is just double, and then a 250% additional base ability regen. So up against Carl, you're going to see here that our base grenade explodes twice, first for 46,000 and then for 53,000, which is around a quarter of his total health. Then, when using ×5 death throws, this doubles, reaching 93,000 and then 107,000 damage. Plus, as you can see, with death throws ×5, we are getting energy at a really solid rate. Now, second up to Verity's, which is what makes it insane, is going to be the buff that you can provide to your teammates, which is called Field of Flames. With this, anytime you have a single stack of death throws and throw a grenade, any teammate nearby is going to get massively increased grenade regen for a short period of time. This is where things get insane because until today, people thought Verity's was just providing 1000% additional base regen rate with Field of Flames, which is solid, but really this entire time, it's actually been increasing our total grenade regen rate by 10 times, which is substantially better and means we can get a full grenade back in just 1.6 seconds. To fully understand the regen we're getting here, I want to very simply break things down. Fusion grenades are going to have a 1 minute and 13 second cooldown, aka 73 seconds in total, which means you are getting roughly 1.37% grenade energy each second at base, which is the tier 3 cooldown for discipline. But with tier 10 discipline, this is only going to be a 36 second cooldown, which means when maxed out, you get 2.78% grenade energy each second instead. If you stack Verity's on top of that, at ×5 death throws, since this uses the base or tier 3 cooldown rate, we're just taking 1.37%, multiplying it by 2.5 for that 250% bonus, and then adding it directly on top of the tier 10 cooldown we already have, meaning we get up to 6.2% grenade energy each second, which is a lot. But keep in mind, that's just death throws, which is the worst of the 2 buffs we're getting. Then Field of Flames comes in and says, that's cute, how about we 10x it? So with everything fully stacked, which is easy as hell to do by the way, we get over 60% of our grenade back each and every second, giving us a 1.6 second cooldown between grenades, and as I've shown, you can pretty casually use this infinitely. As you can see in the gameplay here, me and just one other person alone were running Verity's, and we were able to pretty much maintain ×5 death throws and Field of Flames for each other, meaning we were spamming fusions every 1.5 seconds, which were also dealing double the base damage. Not a single thing had a chance at surviving, and do keep in mind this is like 20 underpower content where we're just roaming with infinite fusion grenades, and we don't need to spam rifts or do anything other than play the game normally. I will also mention that because fusions have an extremely low cooldown, this makes them ideal for Verities. If we were to run something like a solar grenade, this would return a grenade with the optimal setup in 3.4 seconds, which isn't bad, but that's over twice as long per grenade we're getting back. So making sure you run a grenade with around a minute 30 cooldown at base is pretty important. To end the video off, I did want to give you guys a full subclass layout and mod list that you can use when running Verities to make it as efficient as possible. For your super, obviously make sure you're on Well of Radiance. For your class ability, anything really works. You saw in most of the gameplay me running Phoenix Dive, just because if I'm solo or even just playing faster in like raids or dungeons, I can use this to get off a quick burst of healing. Your melee won't matter too much, but make sure you are running fusion grenades. These have one of the lowest base cooldowns, which comes massively into play with running Verity's Brow, and is also one of the best for single target damage and still really good for ad clear too. For aspects, I do like Icarus Dash just to move around, and then after that, you want to absolutely make sure you're running Touch of Flame, because with fusion grenades, these are going to explode twice, dealing pretty much double the damage. You can go a bunch of different routes, but in my opinion, the most optimal one for running Verities is going to first have Ember of Empyrean, so that solar weapon or ability final blows extend restoration and radiant effects, since we are relying heavily on a solar weapon here. Ember of Mercy then makes fire sprites that we pick up grant restoration, which is why we have Ember of Empyrean and a solar weapon, so that we can chain restoration ×1 pretty much infinitely. Ember of Searing is going to allow scorched target defeats to then create those fire sprites, so that's how we're actually creating these, so that we can pick them up on anything that dies from Scorch. And then lastly, you absolutely want to make sure anytime you have a damage-based build, you're running Ember of Ashes. That way our fusion grenades are going to apply the most scorch stacks possible, allowing us to ignite bosses more often. As you can see here, these are all the mods we're running in the build, so you can copy all these along. I'm going to cover only the ones that are super important and crucial to the build, just to keep things quicker. Solar Siphon is going to generate orbs of power. We do need to have a pretty good balance with this build of getting weapon final blows, so Solar Siphon is going to come in clutch, giving us armor charge stacks and other benefits. And then with this, I do have Ashes to Assets on. I only run 1 copy here. You could do 2, but as you get up to like 3 copies, you get pretty massive diminishing returns. This just makes it so that our grenade final blows give increased super energy back. Fastball is going to make my grenades now create orbs of power anytime I get a grenade final blow. And then since I'm always running fusions, since they're the best, I like fastball because it's a nice quality of life change so that I can throw them further and faster. And then lastly, I do like grenade kickstart because we get a portion of our grenade straight back whenever we throw it, which is super nice in solo content or if we don't have Field of Flames active for that massively increased grenade regen. On my chest, like always, I think it's a really good practice to just run damage resistance mods, so that's all I have here. On my boots, recuperation just offers a bit of health back every time we do pick up an orb of power we create, and then with that, we also get grenade energy through innervation with the same process. Stacks on Stacks is also super nice. This is going to feed into grenade kickstart a lot more often, so we get more grenade energy back whenever we throw our grenade as well. Then lastly, for my Rift, I do have Special Finisher, but I don't really use that too often. And then more importantly is going to be Double Bomber. This is nice to get a chunk of my grenade back whenever I may need it by placing my class ability down, and it's really going to come mostly into play whenever my teammates need me to throw a grenade so I can get a quick ×1 death throws, maybe drop my class ability, get my grenade fully back, even if I'm not getting that insane regen at the moment, and then provide that Field of Flame buff to them. For weapons, Sunshot is probably my first option. The only downside to this is that the Chain Explosion can kill too many ads when you might want to keep them up to maintain your ×5 buff, rather than just like insta-killing everything. Plus, it's really only strong against red bar enemy types. Explosive Personality will have that same issue where you're going to kill everything practically at once if it's grouped together, so that can suck. But what I will say, the pro for this is that you can go from 0 to 5 stacks pretty much instantly in just 1 shot. So if there's a case where you need that, Explosive Personality is probably your best option. For slowly killing ads 1 by 1 and trying to maintain that ×5 buff, if you're in something like a damage phase, Callous Mini Tool is going to be a great option. But in my opinion, Acacia's Dejection is pretty much the same thing, just better because it uses special ammo. So all 4 of those weapons are my go-tos when using Verities on Solar. That is it for the video and for the build. Let me know your thoughts on Verities in the comments down below. I will more than likely be maining this next season, so I'm excited to test it out to the limits. And I do also stream a bunch over on Twitch, where I will be clearing the new dungeon at reset when that comes out 2 weeks from now. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.